Hi guys, Darth Deuce here, back in the Star Wars The Black Series action figure review. Today, taking a look at another one of the newer releases to the Black Series. It is the Knights of the Old Republic Darth Malak. Was very excited for this figure. Definitely one of my most anticipated figures of the year, honestly. It's a character I've wanted in Black Series 6-inch for like a wish list figure for a long time. And I honestly never thought Hasbro would make this character in 6-inch, but I assume thanks to the KOTOR remake that was supposed to be coming out. Um, I have that to thank for this guy being made, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, let's just jump right into it, taking a look at the figure. And one thing I guess you'll notice right away is that his design isn't 100% accurate to how he appears in the game. They do seem to have come in and kind of updated the design a bit, modernized it a bit, I guess you could say. They did the same with Bastila, whom I reviewed previously. And the only thing I can think of is that this is based off of either concept art or, actual in-game footage of models used for the remake that we have not seen, light of day. That's the only thing I can think of because I don't know where else they get this design from unless Hasbro just made it up themselves, and I doubt it. Um, who knows if that game will ever actually come out? But I actually think it's a pretty cool redesign. It still keeps all of the main elements that I associate with Darth Malak, but just giving it a bit of a different flavor, which I think is pretty cool. But looking at the head sculpt and the face print, which was I think a super important thing that I wanted to get right, and I think they absolutely killed it. The head sculpt and face print look really good. The jaw casing is a nice silver paint and nicely sculpted, and it's not oversized or anything. It doesn't look oversized. It looks the right size. It looks good, and it sits nice and firmly in place on his face, which I think looks super awesome. It does have the blue tattoos on his head, which I think look good. I don't remember them joining up together in the back, but yeah, the eyes are really cleanly done. I think they do have the yellow and red eyes going on, which is super awesome. And you can get look a bit at the scarring and whatnot from his wounds, which I think look really, really good. And they also didn't go crazy with the glossiness on this print as well, which is awesome, because it wouldn't have looked as good if it was super glossy. But I think that looks incredible. And then a very cool feature is that you can actually open up the jaw casing and you can see his prosthetic voice box in there, and lots of gruesome kind of detail in there. You don't usually get that kind of thing with Star Wars Black Series, so that's really cool to see. You can see the upper part of his teeth there. He still has the upper teeth, but he's missing the jaw, and he's got the prosthetic voice box, and it's really nicely painted and sculpted. This head sculpt is super impressive. They really knocked it out of the park with this one. The jaw casing, if you want to, you can fully remove these panels, but I actually do like the fact that you can open it up without removing the parts of the jaw casing if you want. I think that's a nice feature. And then they just close back up and tab back in with no issue, and it stays together. I haven't had any issues with it coming apart. That was kind of a fear I had of whether it would actually stick together firmly, but it does, so that's really good. In the rest of the figure, you've got this collar piece, which is nicely painted and sculpted with some red bits there. The torso looks good. This red part is a different shade, a glossy red as opposed to this more matte red, and that's because this is actually a chest plate, like chest armor, opposed to like fabric, so that looks really good. And then the outfit itself looks good. He's got the red going on, which fairly colorful for a Sith Lord, which makes him a bit more unique. Usually they're wearing all black and everything, but this looks pretty good. But it is a bit different from the original design. That was a lot more like skin tight. This one looks a bit more like uniform, like free-fitting uniform like. But I do dig it. I think it looks good. Got the belt, the silver paint, and then the plastic bit. This is actually a very dark brown, not a black, which I think is interesting. And he's got the same plastic lower robe thing going on there. The belt and the legs are pretty basic, just red and black boots. I do believe this entire figure is head to toe new sculpt. I don't think there's any reuse going on here. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. It does have the soft goods cape. I'm glad they went with the soft goods to not hinder any articulation. And I'm actually glad they were able to execute it so it actually kind of has this side cape that kind of goes over the one shoulder instead of just falling flat on the back. and they actually were able to execute that pretty well on this one. Sometimes it's hard to do that with fabric capes at this scale, but I think they executed it really nicely. It drapes really nicely over his shoulder. It looks really good. So very happy with that. Looks really nice. In terms of articulation, he's got all the standard black articulation you expect. You've got the head joint and then the neck joint. He looks down a little bit, not as good as some other figures. He does look down a little bit, looks up a bit, a little bit of pivot and a bit of rotation. The bulkiness of the jaw casing and this collar piece do hinder articulation a little bit, but it's not too bad. Single hinges at the shoulder, they move pretty good. And he does have a butterfly joint, but like most Black Series figures, you're going to find there's not a ton of movement going on there, but it is there. Single hinges at the elbows move very far in, which is really nice, and they rotate. Swivel and vertical hinges at the wrist for good lightsaber wielding poses, which is great. Torso joint, he actually has two torso joints, which is kind of interesting. You don't usually see that in Black Series. You got a bit here, goes forward and back just a little bit, rotation, a little bit of pivot, and then you've got more rotation, a lot really far back on that one. Still doesn't really go too far forward, and a bit more pivot, so that's kind of interesting. You don't usually see that. And you can move the hips that far out, kick them forward a pretty decent amount. This lower part of the tunic is a softer plastic, but I will say it hinders a little bit of articulation. It's not too bad, but it does hinder a little bit of it. Still cut at the thigh, single hinge at the knee, which goes a bit past 90, which is more than enough. And then you have hinges at the ankle that just go up just a little bit. They go down quite a bit though, and then pivot. So pretty good articulation. I think you'll be able to get a lot of the poses you want to get out of this figure, so that's great. In terms of accessories, he just comes with, well, unless you count the jaw casing pieces as accessories, just comes with his lightsaber. It is a new mold, nicely painted with some silver and black. Looks really good. Nice red blade. You can remove the blade like so. And a cool little feature is he does actually have lightsaber storage on his the back of his belt. He does have a little holster there. You can slide the hilt in and it hangs off the belt. It's very secure, it's not falling out or anything. That's really cool. You don't usually see a lightsaber storage like that. It's usually a hole in the peg or a hook in the loop. So that's some really nice hilt storage. But I'm going to be having him holding the saber because it's the only accessory he comes with. And he holds it, you know, pretty good. You can get two-handed poses, no problem. And it looks pretty good. No real complaints there. And no real complaints with the accessories in general. Obviously, I'd like to see interchangeable hands, especially for characters that use the Force. But it's not something that Black Series has done regularly, so I don't expect it. That's pretty much it for the figure itself. I guess, lastly, just do some comparisons, because this is actually a bit of a bigger than average figure. I'm glad they didn't make it a deluxe, but he is significantly taller than some other figures. I guess first off, here he is with Bastila from the same wave, and he's a fair bit taller than her, but she is also a little bit shorter than an average Black Series 6-inch figure, but you can just see how big he is. And here he is with his master, Darth Revan, and I'd say Revan is a bit closer to the standard height, and he is still almost a good head taller than him, which is accurate. Malak is supposed to be a big, tall guy. And here he is with Zalbar. You can see he's not as super short as Zalbar. Zalbar's still taller, but which is, I'm sure, is accurate, but he gives him a run for his money. And then lastly, here he is with, I think, the only other articulated action figure Darth Malak's ever gotten. Here he is with the old 30th anniversary 3¼ Darth Malak, which I'm still very happy I own. I got it like a year ago. I did kind of shell out for it, but yeah, that's what they look like. In terms of a comparison between the two, I definitely will say the new one's like better in pretty much every way. It's way better articulated. It's better sculpted and painted. The accessories about the same. This one has soft goods. This one is just the better figure overall, as solely as a figure. But I think the old one still has merit because the old one still looks more accurate to the actual in-game model and original game design. So that's cool. But they're just like things that hold this old figure down. Like The head sculpt's good, but it kind of made him look more sickly than menacing. And because of the removable jaw casing at this scale, the jaw casing looks kind of big and goofier than it should be. The articulation on this old figure isn't terrible, but it's still very dated. Not nearly as good as this new one. But still a good figure. I'm still happy to own this original one. But yeah, the new one, just not really any comparison. The new one's a lot better in my opinion. I would only recommend hunting this 3 1/4 one down if you really need a Malak at this scale or you really prefer this look. But otherwise, I'd go with the new Black Series 6" one. Anyways, that's pretty much it for the review. Overall, I really like this figure a lot. It's quickly becoming one of my favorites Black Series 6" figures I own. I just got in a sucker for Legends, Sith Lords, and it's a really well executed figure. So I would definitely, expect this on my top 10 Black Series of the year. Might even make my top 10 overall figures of the year. I'm not sure, but yeah, highly recommend it. And that's pretty much it. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And I'll see you all next video. May the Force be with you.